It's funny, the things that stick with you from childhood. Not the big holidays or the birthdays. Not always. Sometimes it's the quiet things, the secrets you kept, the little discoveries that felt monumental at the time. For me, it was the summer I turned 10, the summer I found the egg. And to this day, I wish I'd just left it where I found it, nestled on that impossibly green leaf deep in the woods behind our house. Our house backed onto a decent stretch of undeveloped land, a tangle of old oaks, whispering pines, and thick undergrowth that, to a kid like me, was an uncharted continent. I wasn't like other kids who stayed glued to the TV. My kingdom was out there. I knew every game trail, every fallen log, perfect for ambushing imaginary foes. I had a collection, a whole shelf in my room dedicated to treasures. Bird feathers of every hue, unusually shaped rocks, cicada shells, even a neatly pinned row of deceased beetles I'd found. I'd spend hours trying to sneak up on rabbits just to see how close I could get, or gently prodding lizards with a blade of grass to watch them skitter away. The woods were my playground and my laboratory. It was on one of those listless August afternoons, the air thick and buzzing with unseen insects, that I saw it. I'd been tracking a particularly vibrant blue damselfly, hoping to add its wings to my collection. Ethically sourced, of course, only if I found it already passed. It led me deeper than usual, to a sun-dappled clearing I rarely visited. And there, resting on a broad, waxy leaf, almost like it had been placed there with deliberate care, was a small, perfectly oval egg. It wasn't like any bird's egg I'd ever seen, and believe me, I'd seen a few. It was about the size of a large marble, and it glowed. Not brightly, not like a light bulb, but with a soft, internal luminescence, as if a tiny star was trapped inside. Its surface was a pearlescent swirl of colors, like oil on water, or the ephemeral sheen of a soap bubble just before it pops. Blues and greens and pinks, shifting as I moved my head. It was the most beautiful, most alien thing I'd ever laid eyes on. A true prize. My first thought, naturally, was that I had to have it. Carefully, using the leaf as a makeshift cradle, I carried it back to the house, my heart thumping a rhythm against my ribs. My parents, well, they tolerated my collections up to a point. A glowing, unknown egg from the woods? They'd have probably thought it was radioactive, flushed it, or called someone who'd take it away and dissect it. No, this had to be my secret, my ultimate find. I made a nest for it in an old shoebox, lined with cotton balls from Mom's bathroom cabinet, and some soft moss I painstakingly gathered. I put the box in my closet, behind a stack of board games I never played, the dark space perfect for appreciating its gentle glow. Every day, I'd check on it. It continued its soft, mesmerizing luminescence. I'd read somewhere that some reptile eggs absorb moisture through their shells, so I'd dab a little distilled water near it with a cotton swab. I didn't know what else to do. I just knew it was special. Around a week later, the glow seemed to pulse a little brighter. I'd just come in from school, my shoes still caked with mud from an impromptu creek exploration. I dumped my bag and went straight to the closet. The top of the egg had a tiny, star-shaped crack. My breath hitched. By the time I'd wolfed down my homework, checking on it every 5 minutes, the crack had widened. I could see something dark and glistening moving fitfully inside. The thing that emerged wasn't what I expected. I guess I'd half hoped for a tiny, iridescent bird, or maybe some fantastical lizard with wings. Instead, what laboriously crawled out, wet and trembling, was an insect. But like no insect I knew from my books or my expeditions. It was about an inch long, with 6 spindly legs and a segmented body. Its exoskeleton, still damp, had that same pearlescent sheen as the egg, though duller now, more like polished gunmetal, with hints of rainbow iridescence in the light. Its head was disproportionately large for its body, dominated by 2 huge, black, multifaceted eyes. And even then, in its nascent form, there was a scattering of soft, fine, dark hairs atop its head, like a bizarre, downy fuzz. Weird. I was a little disappointed, if I'm honest. An insect? After all that? Still, it was my insect, hatched from my egg. I named it Shimmer. I tried offering it bits of lettuce, a crumb of bread, even a piece of sweet apple. Shimmer ignored them all, retreating slightly into the cotton. I remembered reading about praying mantises and their predatory nature. The next day, I caught a small, unsuspecting fly buzzing against my window pane and carefully dropped it into the shoebox. Shimmer, which had been listless, moved then. It was a blur, faster than I'd thought possible for something so newly hatched. There was a series of sharp, delicate clicks, a brief, almost silent struggle, and the fly was gone. Just consumed. Its tiny mandibles worked with an unnerving precision. I told myself it was fine. Nature, red in tooth and claw, even at this scale. I started catching more flies for Shimmer. Small spiders from the corners of the garage, tiny grasshoppers from the lawn. It ate them all with that same unsettling efficiency. And it grew. Fast. Within a few days, it had nearly doubled in size, and its colors seemed to deepen, the iridescence becoming more pronounced. That's when I started noticing other things. The lid of the shoebox, which I always tucked in tightly, would sometimes be slightly askew when I checked in the morning. I figured it was just me, not securing it properly in my haste. Then I started finding tiny, shed exoskeletons in the box. Not just one, like a normal molt, but sometimes 2 or 3 papery husks, each slightly larger than the last, as if it was growing in sudden, rapid spurts overnight. And with each shed, the delicate fuzz on its head became thicker, more like actual hair, and its skin. It seemed less chitinous, somehow tougher, more fleshy beneath the sheen. The truly weird stuff started about 2 weeks in. Shimmer was now easily 3 inches long, and its body shape was changing significantly. The front section, where its head and first pair of legs were, was becoming thicker, more upright. Those first 2 legs were also thickening, looking less like insect limbs and more like, well, miniature arms. The head itself seemed larger, rounder, less insectoid. The soft, small hairs had now grown into a thatch of long, fine, black hairs sprouting from the top of its head, obscuring what I was starting to think of as its face. It was also clearly getting too big for the shoebox, and frankly, I was getting a little nervous about how easily the lid seemed to get disturbed. I found a larger, clear plastic container, the kind Mom used for storing pasta, with a lid that snapped on tightly at 4 points. I punched plenty of air holes in the lid with a heated nail. "That should hold you," I muttered, transferring Shimmer to its new, more secure home. One morning, after the move to the new container, I went to the closet and found a dead moth on top of the sealed container. A big one, a Luna moth, its pale green wings perfect, though one was slightly crumpled. I hadn't put it there. My blood ran cold. I checked the snaps on the lid, all firmly closed. The air holes were tiny. I opened the box, and Shimmer was perched on a small twig I'd added, its front section raised. Those multifaceted eyes seemed fixed on me. I swear, it felt like it was watching me, waiting for a reaction. A chill went down my spine that had nothing to do with the cool morning air. The next day, it was a small garden lizard, the kind that skittered along the sunny walls outside. It was laid out neatly beside where the moth had been, on top of the still sealed container. Its neck was bent at an unnatural angle. My breath caught in my throat. How? I examined the container minutely. Around one of the snap-on points, there were faint, almost invisible scratches in the plastic, like something incredibly sharp had been trying to pry it open. I ran my finger over them. Tiny, parallel gouges. I looked at Shimmer again. The hairs on its head were thicker now, like a grotesque, tiny wig, and beneath them, the shape was... It was too reminiscent of a human head, a miniature, malformed human head, atop what was undeniably an insect's thorax and abdomen. The upper part of its body, the section with the first 2 legs, even looked disturbingly like a tiny, hunched human torso. Those front limbs, they ended in what looked like needle-sharp black claws. "I brought this for you." The thought slammed into my head unbidden. It wasn't a voice, not really, but a sudden cold understanding, an intrusive knowledge. It was showing me, offering me. Then came the full, sickening realization. It was escaping. Those scratches weren't accidental. It was strong enough and dexterous enough with those developing claw-like appendages to somehow manipulate the lid or even force it slightly. But how could something that size move the heavy encyclopedias I'd started placing on top of the lid after the moth incident? Unless it didn't need to move them much, just enough to squeeze out. A shiver, cold and greasy, ran down my spine. I felt sick. The initial wonder was gone, completely eclipsed by a creeping dread that settled in the pit of my stomach like a stone. I took the lizard, its tiny body limp, and buried it in the far corner of the garden, my hands shaking. I should have taken Shimmer then and there, returned it to the deepest, darkest part of the forest. But I couldn't. A perverse sense of attachment, of responsibility, mixed with a morbid curiosity, held me back. It was ugly, eerie, terrifying yet uniquely mine. It was my pet, wasn't it? I added more books on top of the container. 3 heavy encyclopedias and a dictionary. Surely that would be enough. The human-like features were becoming more pronounced, though always partially obscured by that curtain of black hair. It was definitely strong. I'd hear faint scraping sounds from the container at night, a determined, rhythmic scratching. Once, I woke up with a jolt, convinced the entire container had not just moved, but rocked several inches across my closet floor. The books on top were slightly askew. I told myself I was dreaming, that the house was settling. But the musky, slightly sweet, and altogether unpleasant odor emanating faintly from the closet was getting harder to ignore. Then the fish in my small aquarium started disappearing. I had a little 5-gallon tank on my dresser. First, a neon tetra vanished without a trace. Then another. Then the plucky little guppy I'd had for a year. I had 5 fish. Soon, I had only 2. My parents blamed Patches, our old ginger cat, who had a penchant for batting at anything that moved. But I knew. Patches wouldn't have been so neat about it. There would have been water everywhere, a half-eaten fish on the carpet. Deep down, I knew it wasn't the cat. One afternoon, I was doing homework at my desk, the aquarium in my peripheral vision. I saw a flicker of movement, too quick to register. I looked up. One of the remaining tetras was gone. The lid of the aquarium, a simple plastic flap, was slightly ajar, and I felt eyes on my back. I turned slowly. Shimmer was utterly still in its container in the closet, its head slightly tilted, those huge black eyes fixed on me, unblinking. It seemed to be studying me, almost mimicking my posture as I sat hunched over my books. Its front limbs, those torso-like ones, were held in a way that looked disturbingly like folded arms. The clicking sounds it made when it ate became louder, more distinct, sometimes accompanied by wet, tearing noises. Sometimes, late at night, I'd hear a soft chittering from the closet, a sound that was disturbingly close to a whisper, but not quite. Sibilant, questioning, just on the edge of being something recognizable. My bedroom, once my sanctuary, started to feel occupied, watched. The final undeniable straw came about a week later. I woke up to Patches hissing like a steam pipe from under my bed. He wasn't just scared, he was terrified. A low, guttural growl rumbling in his chest, his eyes wide and fixed on the closet. Patches feared nothing. Not the vacuum cleaner, not thunderstorms, not even the neighbor's boisterous Labrador. This was different. Then I saw them. On my desk, laid out with that same awful, deliberate neatness, were 3 small, dead sparrows. Their necks were broken. Shimmer was pressed against the clear plastic of its container, which was now on my desk, not in the closet. The encyclopedias were scattered on the floor beside it. Its front limbs, those horribly articulated things, were almost gesturing towards the birds. The hairs on its face shifted slightly, parted by some unseen breeze or movement from within, and for a horrifying instant, I saw something beneath. Not multifaceted insect eyes, but 2 smaller, deeply set, glistening black orbs, and below them, a suggestion of a lipless, vertical slit that twitched. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. This thing, this gift from the woods, was a waking nightmare. Its hunger was insatiable. Its intelligence was alien and profoundly disturbing. And its attempts at connection were grotesque, murderous offerings. It had effortlessly escaped its reinforced prison, hunted, and returned, all while I slept. The next morning was a Sunday. I didn't eat breakfast. My hands trembled so badly I could barely get dressed. I took the container. Shimmer was heavy now, surprisingly so for its size. It shifted inside, a weighty, sinuous movement, and I heard those low clicks and a soft, almost sighing sound that vibrated through the plastic. I avoided looking directly at it. I carried it out to the woods, much further than where I'd found the egg, to a dark, dense part of the forest, where sunlight barely trickled through the canopy, a place even I usually avoided, because it just felt wrong. My heart hammered against my ribs, so hard I thought it would break free. I fumbled with the snap-on lid, my fingers slick with sweat. It took 3 tries before the snaps gave way. I tipped the container. Shimmer tumbled out onto the damp, leaf-strewn earth and lay still for a moment. Then it slowly righted itself. It was bigger than I'd realized, maybe 7 inches long now, its upper body thick and disturbingly humanoid, its lower body still segmented but bulkier, with those 6 spindly yet strong spider-like legs supporting it. It turned its upper body, that horrible miniature torso, towards me. It didn't move, just stood there, watching me. The black hairs on its head swayed slightly, and I could feel those eyes fixed on me. There was no anger I could discern, no fear, just an awful, ancient, knowing stillness. I backed away, one slow step, then another, then turned and I didn't look back. I didn't stop running until I burst through my back door, gasping for breath, hot tears of terror, and a strange, twisted grief streaming down my face. I never told anyone. Who would believe the ravings of a terrified 10-year-old? I threw the container in the trash, buried deep under other garbage, and scrubbed my hands until they were raw. For weeks I avoided the woods. Every creak of the house at night, every shadow in the periphery of my vision, I thought it was Shimmer. Come back. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, convinced I could hear that soft, almost whispering chitter from my closet, or the faint scratching of claws on wood. I'm grown now, of course. I moved away from that house, from those woods, a long time ago. But I still think about Shimmer. I think about that glistening egg, so beautiful and strange, and the thing it became. Sometimes, when I'm walking near any wooded area, especially in the quiet stillness of late afternoon, I feel that prickle on the back of my neck, a feeling of being watched by something I can't see, something that remembers. I don't know what it was or what it ultimately became. I just know that some things are best left unfound, some mysteries better left unsolved. And if you ever find something in the woods, something beautiful and alluring, something that seems too good to be true, just walk away. Trust me on this. Just turn around and run. Because some gifts you really, really don't want to keep. And some things, once invited in, are very hard to get rid of. And that's our story for this episode. We hope it gave you a few chills. If you enjoyed this journey into the unsettling, please take a moment to hit the like button. It really helps us out. And if you want to hear more eerie tales like this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.